remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
I can't stop the feeling. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. Ain't nobody leaving, so keep dancing.
If you happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you happy and you know it and you really wanna show it. If you happy and you know it, clap your hands. That was great, Rosita.
You know, those songs just make me want to dance and smile. I love happy songs. I had so much fun picking out the songs. That's just 5 from about 40 I listened to. I've got a question for you. Are you happy? Are you really happy? Some of you are thinking, well, that's an easy question. Of course I'm happy. Others of you don't want to answer because you assume it's a trick question. You're either happy but afraid I'm going to say it's wrong, or you're unhappy and afraid I'm going to make you feel guilty. Still others want to answer that question with a question. Well, Pastor Rod, before I answer, I need to know, how do you define happiness? If I'm happy at home but miserable at work, how do I answer? How about if I'm happy at church but not at home? What percentage of the time do I have to be happy? If I'm happy 60% of that time, does that qualify, or do I have to be happy all the time? Are you talking cupcakes from small cakes happy, or holding a baby happy? Or do you mean I won the lottery happy? Or if I was just able to pay my electric bill, does that count? Maybe for you, happiness seems impossible. You'd like to be happy. You want to be happy, but you're not. And you don't picture that changing anytime soon. As Americans, we've declared that happiness is a right. The Declaration of Independence says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Is happiness a right? Do you deserve happiness? Marketing taps into your desire to live a happier, better life. Companies want you to believe that if you buy their product, then you'll be happy. Finding ways to incorporate joy into their marketing efforts can have a profound impact on the way people perceive their brand. It's a concept that's called joy marketing, and it's worked for a lot of big brands. That's a brilliant commercial. But it has no basis in reality. Coke doesn't make you smile, laugh, or be happy. Now, you might get a temporary good feeling from drinking a Coke. Maybe you need the caffeine, but it does nothing to transform you. No product can change the human heart. When it comes to happiness and joy, it's the change in you, not the change around you, that makes the difference. Happiness is not a change of circumstances. It's a change in you in the circumstances. In his letter to the church in Philippi, which we know as Philippians, Paul talked about what a Christian's attitude should be in adversity, struggle, problems, and trials. As a missionary, Paul traveled around the Mediterranean Sea, which includes some incredibly beautiful places. But Paul didn't write the book of Philippians while sitting on a beach in the Greek Isles. He didn't write about joy and happiness while enjoying a vacation. Paul wasn't on a cruise. He wasn't visiting world-class sites. Paul wrote this letter from prison where he was chained to a Roman guard while awaiting trial. Paul was separated from the people he cherished, and he was prevented from doing what he loved the most, planting churches and being with the church people. What you expect in those circumstances is sadness, despair, anger, and heartache. Or you expect Paul to proclaim his innocence and to rant against the judicial system. I mean, if anyone deserved to complain, it was Paul. No one would blame Paul for pity or regret. But instead, from a damp, dark dungeon of a prison, the overwhelming theme of Paul's letter is joy. This letter was written to a group of churches that were experiencing the beginning of persecution and attacks. The believers in Philippi were living in extreme poverty. They were ostracized by society. They were under pressure because religious leaders didn't like the message of Jesus and the changes it brought. They were under extreme pressure. Pressure doesn't create. Pressure reveals. Let me show you what I mean. If you look, this looks like a tube of toothpaste, right? But you don't really know what it is until you put it under pressure. Well, I put it under pressure. Those of you who always roll from the end, this is making you crazy. I put it under pressure, and what comes out is toothpaste. Pressure didn't create the toothpaste. Pressure revealed the toothpaste that was already there. I watched with interest when churches weren't able to meet in person because of coronavirus. Some pastors responded with creativity and inspirational joy. Others posted angry rants against the government and the rules. Same situation, same pressure, completely different reaction. Pressure revealed. I watched marriages and families. Couples were forced to spend a lot of time together. And some responded with silly, spontaneous fun, home-cooked meals, making new memories. Others got angry. There were arguments, fights, accusations, irrational behavior. Same situation, same pressure, different reaction. And again, pressure revealed. For Paul, the pressure of persecution in prison revealed the strength of his faith. But that same pressure had a different effect on the church. Leaders argue and formed opposing groups. The church was not healthy or strong. They lost their joy. Have you ever had a day or maybe even a week or a month where you struggled to have joy? I'm not talking about just a bad day or a flat tire. It was more than unhappiness. Your joy was gone. I spent a lot of time talking to pastors. And a few weeks ago, I talked to several who were under a lot of pressure. Church people were cruel. Now, I know that's hard for you to believe, but it happens. Too often, pastors get treated like politicians or public figures that deserve to be attacked, and people forget that their pastors are people. For my pastor friends, this wasn't just a bad day. It was people intentionally trying to cause hurt and harm. But in each case, even though they weren't having fun, they were definitely not happy, they still had joy. because real joy is not situational. It's eternal. For them, the pressure revealed what was inside. We may not face coronavirus again, but we're going to face pressure. I know it and you know it because Jesus predicted it. Matthew 24, Jesus said, "Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You'll hear of wars and rumor of wars, but see to it that you're not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains." Then Jesus said, "Then you'll be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you'll be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. Many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold." Life on this earth can be described as moving from pressure to pressure. It's inevitable. Things will go wrong. You will face opposition and challenges. The church will face persecution. The question is, what is that pressure going to reveal in you? Near the end of Philippians, we find a famous passage. After modeling joy under pressure, Paul then revealed the secret to that way of living and responding. This truth and the corresponding promise can absolutely change your life. Paul wrote, "I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you've renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you've been concerned, but you didn't have an opportunity to show it. I'm not saying that because I'm in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need. I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or living in want." Paul wasn't born with contentment. It wasn't a personality trait or a special gift. Paul wasn't naturally happy with less. You have to look back what he said. He said, "I learned contentment." And here's the great news. If Paul learned it, so can you. You can learn to be content. Now, I wish Paul had followed that sentence with 3 or 4 paragraphs titled, "How I Learned to Be Content." He didn't. But Paul understood something about God that helped him live at peace regardless of circumstances. He said, "I have learned the secret of being content." Now, anytime someone successful says, "I've learned the secret," pay attention. I've learned the secret of getting rich quick. I've learned the secret of making straight A's. I've learned the secret to getting more likes on your Instagram posts and TikTok videos. I've learned the secret to a long, healthy life. I've learned the secret for the best brownies with icing, because everyone knows if it doesn't have icing, it's not a brownie. It's just a useless lump of chocolate-flavored bread. I've learned the secret to never getting a ticket. I've learned the secret to a perfect marriage. I've learned the secret to a perfect lawn. I've learned the secret to perfectly behaved children. Paul said, "I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content." Now, content is not a very exciting word. You don't hear people say, "Boy, when I grow up, I want to be content." Or I know what God has for me. God's going to help me be content. You don't want just a content life. You want more. You want abundance. You want over the top. You want blessings too many to count. No one dreams of just being content. The dictionary definition of content is satisfied with what one is or has, not wanting more or anything less. Stephen Cole defined it this way: contentment is an inner sense of rest and peace that comes from being right with God and knowing that He's control of all that happens to us. And now that you know the definition, being content sounds wonderful. Content people have a sense of rest and a sense of peace. Well, a lot of people do a lot of unhealthy things in their search for peace. In what we're facing right now, I think what people are wanting and craving and desiring more than anything else is peace. And maybe right now, the situation you're in feels anything but peace-filled. I just want to pause and pray for you today that the peace of God will bring rest to your mind, to your spirit, and to your soul. Lord, thank you that you can give us peace. So I pray for the people in this room. I pray for people watching online who, especially the last 10 weeks, have really brought up a lot of anxiety and tension and worry and fear. Lord, I pray right now that your peace would still that. Lord, that you would replace our anxiety with your peace. Or not necessarily that the circumstances change, but that we've changed in the middle of the circumstance. And we're covered by your peace. We rest in that today. Lord, I pray for people who've had a hard time sleeping. And I pray that you would give them a restful, peaceful body and spirit and mind so that they can sleep well. Let tonight be the best night's sleep they've had since this all began. Lord, we give you our worries and anxieties and our fears, and we ask you to replace it with your sweet peace. In Jesus' name, amen. Real joy and lasting peace doesn't come from a frantic pursuit of happiness. Instead, it comes from understanding that whatever happens around you, God is in control. Paul wrote, I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Even when you experience difficult and horrible circumstances, God is in control. You can trust him. In the good times, you can trust him. In the bad times, you can trust him. When you understand everything that's going on, you can trust him. When you can't understand and you can't see his plan, you can still trust him. When people are against you, you can trust him. When it seems like everything is lost, you can trust him. You can have a sense of rest and peace because God is in control. In the 1500s in England, Hugh Latimer was a reformer who fought the corruption of government and church. At one point, he was so connected he had access to the king. He was a man of wealth and influence until a change in leadership led to his arrest and he lost everything. Hugh and his friend Nicholas Ridley were condemned to death for preaching the truth. After living with influence, he was moved to prison to die. On the day of their execution, the two men were chained to a large pole and burned at the stake. And as the soldiers lit the fire at their feet, Latimer looked at Ridley and said these words, "Be of good comfort, Mr. Ridley, and play the man. We shall this day light such a candle by God's grace in England, as I trust shall never be put out." And they did. Their courage and contentment lit a candle. Even in death, they inspired thousands to believe. I want that kind of contentment. I want the kind of peace and trust that enables me, even while suffering, to live and to die with joy. Paul said, I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Okay, you want to know what it is? Here's the secret. This is the secret to contentment in any and every situation, regardless of what's happening around you. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. Now, you might have learned it this way. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. This is one of the most misused promises in the entire Bible. The context of this verse is not one of boasting. This is not Paul saying, I'm a super Christian. I'm Paul. I can do anything. Paul also wasn't saying, because of Jesus, I can do anything I want. Let's back up and remember his setting. Paul spent several decades pursuing the call of God. He gave up an admired position as a Pharisee and a teacher in Jewish synagogues in order to travel from city to city, to plant churches, to pray for the sick, and to preach the good news of Jesus. After all those years of faithful service to God, Paul found himself in a damp, cold prison cell. He was beaten, he was flogged, he was chained because he refused to quit telling the good news about Jesus. Paul was stripped of his freedom, his dignity, and his basic human rights. He faced intense pain. He faced suffering and the possibility of a death sentence. And I imagine as Paul was writing, he had to wipe blood from his face. It was difficult to hold the quill because of the pain in his wrist from the shackles. He could barely see the parchment because the only light in the room was coming through a small crack in the wall of his cold, dark prison cell. Yet in the midst of pain, persecution, imprisonment, and suffering, Paul declared his dependence on God. That's when he said, I can do everything through him who gives me strength. See, some Christians miss the point of Paul's words because they ignore the context. And they take this promise to mean that God is all powerful, God lives in me, I can do all things, meaning I can do anything I want. I can get an A on this test I didn't study for because I can do everything through him who gives me strength. I will get this job I'm not qualified for because I can do everything through him who gives me strength. I can take on more debt and live without financial margin because I can do everything through him who gives me strength. Even though I can't afford the tuition, I'm still going to go to that college because I can do everything through him who gives me strength. I can avoid sin, even though I constantly surround myself with sinful people and entertainment, because after all, I can do everything through him who gives me strength. I can have just one drink. I can handle it because I can do everything through him who gives me strength. This verse has been reinterpreted to mean you can do whatever you want and whatever you need to do because of Jesus. That's not what Paul said. Think about it. If Paul could do anything he wanted because of Christ who gave him strength, why didn't he summon superpowers and bust through the chains and throw all the captors out of the way and break out of jail? See, you can't separate this verse from the context. Paul said, I've learned how to go without and how to have plenty. I can do it because Jesus gives me strength in both situations. I've learned how to be hungry and content and full and content. I can do it because Jesus gives me strength in both situations. He's with me. I've learned how to be content in the good times and content in the bad times. In fact, I'm even content while I'm here in prison because Jesus gives me strength. He's with me. There's no way Paul could do that on his own. You can't either. The key to applying the secret is rely on Jesus. I can't promise you happiness and a pocket full of sunshine every day of your life. I wish I could. I can't promise you everything will go your way. I can't promise a life free of heartache, cancer, pain, frustration, and sadness. I can't promise you'll never be hungry or that you'll never be persecuted for your faith. I can't promise you a big house, a new car, a boat, and a pony. I can promise you that God is with you, that he will never leave you, that he will never forsake you. I can promise you can do everything through him who gives you strength. You can have joy in the face of trouble. You can be content in seasons of need. You can keep going when others around you quit. You can be agreeable instead of argumentative. You can see light even in your deepest, darkest moment. You can face heartache, disappointment, sickness, and pain with peace and trust because you can do everything through him who gives you strength. God is with you. You are not alone. And because he is with you, you can rely on him for strength. Because he is with you, you can live with joy and contentment no matter what comes. Because he is with you in the middle of this crisis that grips our nation, you can still have joy. As people around you are freaking out, you can have peace. You can have that calm settledness in your spirit. And when others say, well, I don't get it. Why aren't you freaking out? What's your secret? Here's the answer. I've learned the secret. Whether I have a lot or a little, whether I'm healthy or sick, whether I'm hungry or full or rich or poor, God's with me. I can do this through him because he gives me strength. He gives me strength to endure. He gives me strength to have the right attitude. He gives me the strength to still smile. He gives me the strength to keep going. He gives me the strength to love you. On my own, there's no way I could do this. I'm clueless. I don't have a chance. I'm weak and afraid. But thank God I'm not on my own. He's with me, and I can do everything through him who gives me strength. I want to pray for you today. And I want to pray that the secret that Paul learned is a secret you'll apply to your life. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. Not I can have whatever I want. I can drive a Corvette through him who gives me strength. But I can face difficult circumstances. I can face an unknown future. I can deal with troubles and trials and struggles and heartache and pain. I can do all that, not on my own, not because I'm cute or special, but through him who gives me strength. Jesus, we come to you today and we tell you we need you. Lord, there are times as we survey the world around us and the situation and the circumstances, we wonder, how am I ever going to do this? How can anyone do this? And it's just so easy to just say, I'm going to hide in my house and never come out. I'm done. I quit. Lord, I pray that the Spirit of God would rise up in your people and that we would have a courage and a boldness that comes not from ourselves, but because we rely on you who give us strength. Lord, in our own, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to handle it. We don't know where to turn. We don't have the answers. But God, thank you that we are not required to have every answer. All we have to do is to know you and to know that you'll give us the strength. Lord, I pray for people who right now, even while I'm talking, they can't understand. It doesn't make sense to them because they don't have that relationship with you, or because that relationship is not deep enough to draw on. Lord, I pray right now in the quietness of this moment that they would just say, Jesus, I need you. I don't know what to do. I can't handle things on my own. I need you. I need you in my life. Maybe for some, you've just drifted away. And it's Jesus, I need you back in my life. I need more of you. Jesus, would you give me the same secret that you gave Paul? That in every situation, when he had a lot, when he had a little, when he was hungry, and when he had a bunch of food, when he was preaching in churches, and when he was in prison waiting death, he could say, I can do this all through you because you give me strength. Lord, give us your strength, we pray. And then we know we can face whatever comes because of your Spirit in us. We draw on that today, and we tell you we need you. We thank you that we are never alone. We're never lost. We're never on our own because you've promised you're with us. We can do all things through you. You give us strength.
When the mountain looks too high to climb, when you feel you're not ready to fight, when you think there's no one by your side, He is with you.